that is something that's so unlikely to happen to you that it might seem strange to spend time thinking about how to avoid it. But the techniques are simple, and the cost of not using them can be staggering. I'm Randy Spivey, Director of the Safe Travel Institute and former executive in the Department of Defense. I spent much of my military career as a director of the Hostage Survival Program for the Department of Defense. An abduction scenario is an extreme one and hard to imagine. But many of the prevention techniques and strategies we perfected for the 4 branches of the U.S. military, the FBI, and other critical agencies are also very effective ways to help you protect yourself against a host of smaller but very real dangers. 500 million tourists wander the world every year. Nearly as many business travelers fly in and out of international cities, meet with host country nationals, and sometimes even drive jeeps into the backcountry. Most of us come home with souvenirs, cameras full of photos, and deals successfully brokered. Most of us will come home with pleasant memories. Most. About 3% of all travelers, however, are victims. Victims of theft, mugging, car break-ins, rape. Does this mean you should just stay home and hide away? Of course not. You're more likely to get a bad sunburn on your vacation or not see eye to eye with your business associate than you are to be abducted by terrorists. In fact, you're much more likely to be struck by lightning. It's an interesting thing about lightning, though. We use it as the ultimate example of something that should never happen. But how many of us would stand next to a metal pole in a thunderstorm? This program was created to give you tools and knowledge for a safe passage when you travel. It wasn't made to scare you or make you want to stay home. Business travel can be critical to a thriving company, and leisure travel is one of the most rewarding things we can do. Whatever kind of traveling you do, we want you to have the tools you need to approach it with confidence. You'll learn what to do before you even board a flight, the importance of situational awareness, tips on how to dress, act, and relate in country. We'll identify potential danger zones and teach you strategies and techniques that can help you survive a kidnap or hostage situation in case lightning really does strike. We'll teach you to be a hard rather than a soft target. What does it mean to be a hard target? It applies to everyone from a private contractor in Iraq to a business person walking down the street in his or her own city or town. It's at the heart of almost every safety strategy we're going to cover, and it begins with a simple exercise. Put yourself in the mind of the bad guy. Whether you're a purse snatcher in Seattle or a terrorist in Lebanon, the thing you're going to do is pick a target before you act. How will you choose your target? You'll likely choose them based on a few key things, like how much money do they look like they're carrying, or how much value would they be as a hostage. This program is here to give you the weapon of information we all greatly lack today, so you can travel anywhere in the world and have a safe passage home. So let's get started. The odds during your travels of coming up against a kidnapper or hostage taker are minuscule. The kids like those are a lot more common. So even if they confront you instead of scam you, give them your wallet and they're happy. And you are too, because they didn't get the wallet they thought they did. You just scammed the scammers.
It's all right, don't worry about it. Just let them go.
Our travelers packed more than one wallet each on their trip. The one the kids got was a throwaway, an old wallet with an expired driver's license, a little cash, and enough worthless other cards to make it convincing. For really valuable things like your passport and your cash, you should use a security pouch that hangs around your neck and goes inside your shirt or blouse. If you're like most people, you wouldn't even think about walking around in a foreign country with thousands of dollars in cash in your pocket. But guess what? That's equivalent to what your passport can bring on the black market. So always keep that in your security pouch with your other valuables. We'll talk more about that in the packing section. Yes, our traveler is out the $28 she put in her throwaway wallet, but not the $233 she has in her security pouch. And if the kids want more than the cash, they'll discover the credit cards have expired too. There are other strategies in preparing for a trip, whether you're traveling to a foreign country on company business or you're taking the family on a vacation to another part of your own country. Another addition to your packing list that could make a big difference to your safety is packing an emergency escape bag or go bag. Similar to the throwaway wallet, you carry only the essentials you might need to survive on the run. Should you be forced to exit your hotel room quickly, you'll need the following items in your escape or go bag. Your identification, some cash, maybe $200, a credit card, any medications that are important to you, a communication device, a cell phone or an international calling card, and an emergency phone number listing. Usually something like a small waist pack will carry all these key items in one ready-to-go place. Preparing for travel isn't just for you. It's for the people closest to you as well. What if they find out there's been an earthquake or tsunami in the area you're traveling in? Make sure the people you care about have the most accurate itinerary you can give them so they'll know immediately whether there's cause for concern. Include flight numbers, the names and phone numbers of your hotels, phone numbers of your business contacts if that's appropriate, and try to make sure you have international cell phone access. And here's a simple thing you can do that has nothing to do with international travel, but could make a major difference if lightning were to strike.
Hello? Hi, honey. Yes, I'm fine. I'm having a really good time. Listen, it looks like I'm going to be here a little longer than we thought, so I'm not going to be able to make it to Aunt Martha's birthday party. So tell her I'm sorry.
Aunt Martha, 2 words that may have just saved her life. It's an alert code she and her family created in the unlikely event she found herself in some kind of trouble. By using it, she communicated that something was wrong, that her family should take whatever steps seem right to help her if they can. So create an alert code with your family that only you share. It should be something easy to slip into a sentence in a phone conversation, but clearly not a word you'd use by accident. It's designed to communicate that something is wrong without letting anyone else know what you're doing. You'll probably never need to use your alert code, but it only takes a minute or 2 to work it out, and if you ever did need it, you'll be glad to have it. What else should you think about as you prepare? Remember to think like the bad guys. What are they going to be looking for? Well, their first thought is probably about money. Who looks like they have a lot of it? For business reasons, you may need to have some of your wardrobe reflect success. But the less you project wealth through your wardrobe and jewelry, the less attractive a target you'll make. One big giveaway that you're a soft target is your watch. You can wear an expensive watch when traveling or an inexpensive department store version. We'd recommend the less expensive and less noticeable one. Here's another packing tip you might not think of. It may be tempting to put your medications in a baggie to save space in your suitcase. Don't do it. Use your prescription bottle and your meds are less likely to be confiscated by international customs agents. Take extra medication and never pack your pills in your checked luggage. As important as knowing what to pack is having a plan for when you arrive. Depending on your destination, you may be a little disoriented, and depending on the length of your flight, you may be more than a little tired. You can make a much smoother transition into your trip if you figure out now how you're going to get to your hotel or accommodations. Hotel shuttles and registered taxis are safest. Make sure you have whatever information you'll need on arrival and carry it in something that stays with you through your entire trip. And confirm the price before you get there, especially in a developing country where they're notorious for having the meter running before you even step in the cab.
I'm calling to arrange my travel in 2 weeks, please.
If your company has a corporate travel department, be sure to follow their policies and systems. If you don't, your company may not know where you are and may not be able to help you in the event of an emergency. Make copies of your airline ticket, passport identification page, driver's license, and the credit cards you're taking with you. Have copies at home, at the office, and with you in a separate place from your valuables. You should also check into a few things we all seem to put off that become even more important if something were to happen to us, particularly overseas. Designate a power of attorney. If you're temporarily incapacitated or hospitalized while overseas, someone at home needs to be legally authorized to take over your personal affairs and expedite any care or transportation needs. And speaking of health issues, find out how to access your health insurance coverage overseas. Know exactly what your plan covers. Some insurance doesn't cover overseas care, and in that case, you should look into buying a supplemental policy. And it wouldn't hurt to check your life insurance too, especially since some policies won't cover death in high-risk areas. Also, make sure your will is prepared and up to date. You know you owe it to your family to keep your affairs in order. Remember that emergencies can happen at home too. If you're traveling alone on company business, make sure you have an emergency plan in case something happens to someone in your family while you're gone. You should have a frequent check-in strategy both with your family and with your associates. And finally, know where you're going. Know what's happening at your destination and don't rely on the nightly news for your information. Learn something about the culture of your destination too. In some countries, jeans are considered decadent. Not only are you being disrespectful if you wear them, you're also calling attention to yourself and not in a positive way. The same applies to mannerisms. In some parts of the world, it's considered very rude to point with your finger. The proper way is with the thumb. You could call attention to yourself without ever realizing it. Let's review the things you should do before you travel. Bring a throwaway wallet. Pack an escape bag. Prepare an itinerary for your family with schedules and phone numbers. Develop an alert code, one that means something only to you and your family or associates. Pack to blend in, not to get attention. Carry, don't pack your medication. Book your hotel shuttle or taxi before you travel. Make copies of your airline ticket, passport identification page, driver's license, and the credit cards you're taking with you. Have a frequent check-in strategy with your family and associates. Have your things in order before you leave, like your will and power of attorney and medical and life insurance. And finally, learn about the culture you're traveling to. Well, we're ready, so let's get to the airport.
So if you want that package delivered, you're going to have to let the front desk know.
We're gone all day.
I'll do it for 3 days.
Wow.
All right, and then we'll get home, I don't know, back at 10 at night?
And you got the cash?
I do.
Every day, somewhere in the world, travelers enter a vulnerable public area and volunteer out loud entirely too much information about themselves for all to hear. Whether it's in a grocery store, a parking lot, at the movies, or here, the most vulnerable place in an airport, which is check-in. Of course, we all have to go through this area. It's unavoidable, but we can do two things to minimize our risk. Get on the other side of the security check as quickly as we can and keep our information to ourselves. Airports and airplanes have been targets for terrorist attacks for decades, but they also have more security than most places you'll find yourself in, and the odds are against being involved in an incident. Still, it helps to be aware of safety issues and your situation. It also helps to walk with confidence. You're going to need to have confidence in your step when you land in country, so we suggest establishing it when you get to the airport, especially at check-in. If you walk as if you have no idea where you are or what you're going to do next, you're sending off an immediate signal that you are a soft target. So we suggest you borrow a technique that's right under your nose. If you want to walk with confidence, walk like a flight attendant. They're positive, but have a purpose to them that says, I know what I'm doing and where I'm going, and I'm experienced. They present a very hard target, and you should too. See you on the plane. Where's the safest place to sit on an airplane? Of course, you can't always control this, but you should if you can. The safest seat is a window seat in the middle or rear of the aircraft, ideally in an exit row. If you're up front, you're closer to the cockpit, closer to a hijacker if there is one. And aisle seats are closer too. It may not be as convenient, but a window seat or center section on a large plane is a safer place to be. That sound of yelling from near the cockpit is something I hope you'll never hear. But if you ever do, assess the situation carefully and fight the urge to panic. Keep a clear head and make sure the people around you do too. Maybe the sound you heard is a hijacking. On the other hand, it may just be a couple of rowdy people in first class having too much to drink. The right response for an unexpected situation depends completely on what's really happening. So make sure you have enough information to make an intelligent decision before you take action. Let's review what we've learned from the in-transit chapter. Check-in is the most vulnerable place in the airport, so get through security as quickly as you can. Keep a low profile and don't mention where and when you are traveling. Don't mention if you're carrying cash. The safest place to sit on a plane is toward the back in a window seat. Keep a clear head if you see or hear commotion and have enough information to make a clear decision if you need to. These tips should keep you even safer on the safest part of your trip. See you when you land. You've arrived. If it was a long flight, you're probably focused on getting to your hotel and settling in. This is the time we talked about in the packing section. It's a vulnerable time for you because you'll be tired from traveling and still getting your bearings in a new place. So without being fearful, you'll need to pay attention. There are so many different scams out there, it's hard to keep up with them. but most are based on creating a diversion that pulls your attention away from your valuables. And a lot of travelers don't even need a diversion because they're not paying attention to what's going on around them. Every example we use in this program, from a wallet stolen to hostages taken, is dependent on distraction or lack of attention to succeed. This scam was no different, and it could have been avoided if the travelers were more aware of their surroundings. Make sure your bags are with you at all times. If you put your shoulder bag down, put it between your feet. Don't walk away from your suitcases under any circumstances. Watch them being loaded into the taxi or shuttle bus. Airport bathrooms are notorious locations for stealing carry-ons. Often, the traveler sets down the bag and doesn't pay attention to it. He should have kept his bag with him the entire time. One way to keep it safe is to set down the bag and step inside the loop of the shoulder strap. You'll feel anyone trying to pull it away. At many international airports, you'll be approached by people offering transportation. If you followed our advice in preparing, you research how to get to your hotel. So you have a plan, and it doesn't involve getting into a car with a stranger who's just offered you a cheap ride downtown. Again, hotel shuttles or registered taxis are your best bet.
And there's the key to your room.
And our room is...
1405. Could you recommend a restaurant for dinner?
Absolutely. Our Palm Court is excellent.
Oh, wonderful. You want to try for 7 p.m.?
That seemed perfectly harmless, but it wasn't. I know some valuable information about this couple that makes them a pretty soft target for me to exploit. First, they're in room 1405, and they'll be leaving the room empty from at least 7 to 8 p.m. while they dine at the Palm Court restaurant. Now, this might sound a little too James Bond-like, but they should have done this.
And there's the key to your room.
Actually, we'd like to switch to a room closer to the ground.
Certainly, we can help you with that.
Oh, thank you very much. And can we get some help with the bags, please?
Absolutely.
If for some reason somebody was targeting them, they've just made it a little harder to get them. And you should know there's a reason they ask for a room on a lower floor. It's usually best to ask for something between the 2nd and 7th floors. Why? Ground floor rooms are vulnerable to break-in, and in many international cities, the fire ladders will only reach as high as the 7th story. So in between those floors is best. They didn't broadcast the room number this time. And here's another thing. Like a lot of keys in international hotels, this one has a large object attached to it. The routine is to leave the key at the desk and ask for it when you return. You're not going to do that, though. You don't want to make it easy for people to know when you're gone. We'll cover a few more things upstairs. As you go to your room, pay attention to the layout of the floor and be sure to learn where the emergency exits are. Also, ask for help with your bags so you don't have to walk alone to your room, especially if you're traveling by yourself. When you get to your room, it's a good habit to put the Do Not Disturb sign on the door right away so people know you're there. Then as you unpack, make sure you build your go bag first. Again, you'll need the following items in your escape or go bag: your neck wallet, a cell phone, any medications. Then find a good spot for your go bag, usually somewhere close to the door. And before you leave the room, it's a good idea to leave the TV or radio on so it'll be hard for people to know if your room is empty. And double check that the Do Not Disturb sign is on the door as you leave. Business travelers often have extended hotel stays. If that's you, it's especially important to make yourself a hard target, someone who's less vulnerable. Remember that even someone willing to risk committing a crime will probably try to find the safest, most effective way to carry it out. So think like the bad guys. If you were planning to rob someone, or worse, and you figured they'd be around for a few days, wouldn't you want to watch and learn their habits to find the safest way to work your plan? What if the result of their surveillance is to make them wonder if there is an easy way to take you? That's what it means to be a hard target, and some of it is really easy to do. Vary your routine. Don't use the same exit or entrance every time you leave the hotel. Don't go for a walk at the same time every day or in the same place. Whether it's for business or leisure, don't take the same routes. And after a few days, change your room. And most important, pay attention. Though most unpleasant incidents that happen to travelers are petty crimes and not abductions, they're still unpleasant and often painful. The vast majority of these incidents happen after hours, often near the end of a trip when someone lets their guard down. You don't have to be fearful, just be attentive. In the military, they talk about situational awareness, which really means paying attention, being aware of everything that's going on around you. It's another key to making yourself a hard target. Often, even seasoned travelers can become distracted during their travels. common items such as cell phones, PDAs, or even maps and country guides can distract travelers and make them more vulnerable to being targeted by criminals. Here's what we want you to do. Walk with confidence. Walk with awareness. Pay attention to what's going on around you. If it helps, make it a game. Every once in a while, stop abruptly and turn around to look at something in a shop. Use a window or mirror if it helps. Does anyone behind you stop or look awkward? If someone is watching you from across the street, they'll pay attention to this too. If it looks like you're aware of what's going on around you and you're making the kind of moves someone would make if they were trying to compromise surveillance efforts, then you've made yourself a hard target. In certain situations, you may actually know you're being watched. Here's the rule. If you see someone who seems like they might be paying attention to you, it's probably a coincidence. If you see the same person again, separated by time and space, later in the day in a different place, you're probably being surveilled. If you see them a third time, and yet a different time and a different place, you're almost certainly being surveilled. Well, it's fine to learn that, but what do you do? Well, don't confront them. That could lead to an incident without helping you. But you can do this. First, get to a safe location. Next, report it to someone either within your organization or at your country's embassy. Some other safety tips may seem self-evident, but they're worth mentioning. When you can, walk along the inside of the sidewalk, facing traffic. You also should keep your purse or briefcase close to your body. Stay alert to what's going on around you. Pick a table away from pedestrian traffic. Better yet, eat inside and make sure you know where the exits are. Put your briefcase or purse under the table. You can do the same in a licensed taxi, on the floor or in your lap. More than one unsuspecting traveler has lost their cash or other important papers while just staring out the window. Knowledge and awareness equal safety. In fact, there's almost nothing you can do that will protect you more than just being aware of what's going on around you. Situational awareness. It's so simple and so powerful. Let's review the top 10 things to remember while you're in country. First, most scams occur when the traveler's attention is diverted or distracted, so don't be sucked in. Next, make sure your bags are with you at all times. Put them between your feet to be sure. Don't jump into any airport vehicle, promise you a way to the hotel. Use your registered shuttles or taxis. Don't volunteer any information while checking into your hotel, especially your room number. Change rooms and stay between floors 2 and 7 if you can. Ask for help with your bags. Don't go to your room alone, especially if you're traveling by yourself. Have your go bag ready near your door. Vary your routine. Don't always enter and exit the same hotel entrance if you can. When walking, turn around once in a while to see if you're being followed. If you see the same stranger watching you 3 times, chances are you're being surveilled. And finally, don't confront your surveiller. Get to a safe location and report it. And always have important phone numbers with you. These tips should keep you safe and allow you to enjoy your time in country to its fullest. We've arrived at the part of this program we hope you'll never need to use: surviving the unthinkable. What do you do if you're taken hostage? Of course, most of what we've talked about so far is designed to prevent that possibility. How to make yourself a hard target so even if someone had planned to capture you, they'd reconsider. And there's one more level of prevention we should talk about before we get to the worst case scenario. Just being alert can make the difference between capture and escape. If you see something suspicious, take action. A car screeching to a stop could be someone late for an appointment, or it could be the bad guys. If you run away and it's not the bad guys, you may feel a little foolish, but that's a lot better than being taken hostage. Whenever something unusual is happening, pay attention. An accident in front of you may actually be an artificial way to get you to stop. Same with the construction zone.
โอ้โหขอโทษนะครับไม่ได้ตั้งใจนะครับขอโทษนะครับไม่ได้ตั้งใจผมไม่ Some scams that are used for robbing people could easily be used to capture them instead. Whatever the intent, it's important to remember that anytime something unusual happens, ask yourself why. You don't have to be paranoid, just alert, and always avoid out-of-the-way areas. Unfortunately, You could do everything possible to make yourself a hard target. You could stay alert wherever you are, and there's still a chance, a very tiny one, that you could be taken hostage. But here's the good news. Most hostages survive, and some who didn't survive might have if they'd known some of the strategies we're about to cover.
Here at the National Hostage Survival Training Center, co-located with the Safe Travel Institute, we teach those strategies. We train at-risk individuals with hands-on, intensive workshops designed around the very material you're learning right now. Like this program, hostage survival training deals with a key question none of us wants to ask, but should be prepared to answer in the event lightning does strike. How do I survive? Small things can make a big difference. Small things can work against you too. The starting point for hostage survival training is like the physician's Hippocratic oath. First, do no harm. That's why it's so valuable to spend this time thinking about the unthinkable. Your first reaction may be outrage, but the safest thing to do is follow their directions. Some hostages actually react by saying, "You can't do this to me." You know enough not to do that, but there are less obvious pitfalls you can avoid if you know what they are. Always try to calm the situation.
What do you want? Is this about money or politics? Just let us know. We'll do whatever you want.
Here's something you probably never thought about. What would someone find out about you if they went through your wallet or your purse? If you're taken hostage, that's probably one of the first things your captors will do. If they already know exactly who you are, then it may not make a difference. If they don't, though, they'll be looking for clues. Are you rich? Are you tied to a major company that might pay a ransom? Are you associated with the military? Are you involved with anything they might feel exploits the people of their country? Take a careful look through your wallet or your purse. See it through the eyes of a captor, and think about what you want to keep in there when you're traveling. A capture situation can be very intense with lots of things happening at once. They may fire questions at you and you won't have time to think much about the answers. If directly confronted, you should be truthful. You don't want to tell them things that will encourage them to think about using you for ransom or that would incite them for political or religious reasons. But you don't want to get caught in a lie either. Hostage takers can be very sophisticated. The internet makes us all more vulnerable now. Captors now have access to information about you that could be damaging in a hostage situation. Be prepared for that. As soon as you have a chance, you should shift your focus to trying to understand your abductors. What is their motivation? Is it ransom money? Are they making a political statement? Regardless of their motives, we recommend that you focus on what you can do to make the situation as much in your favor as possible. And remembering 3 letters of the alphabet will help you do just that. Think triple C: calm, connect, and capitalize. First, you must calm the situation. It will likely be highly emotional and volatile. Your behavior can either add to the volatility or ease the tensions. Look for opportunities to insert calming phrases like, "It's going to be okay," "Things will work out," and keep negotiating. Then connect. Remember, hostage takers are humans too. They have families, parents, siblings, spouses, and children. Learn about them and share stories of your own life if the moments arise. Learn about their life situation and connect them as carefully as you can to your own life and the people who are in it. It humanizes the situation and makes you more than just ransom. Then, be ready to capitalize. You should always be looking for a way to facilitate your release. Stay alert for any opportunity to encourage your captors to release you or to continue negotiation. In extreme situations, you may consider the possibility of escape. While some hostages have successfully escaped, this is a very dangerous action and should only be considered as a last resort. Calm, connect, and capitalize. 3 words we hope you never have to use. If lightning does strike, you need to be ready. So let's review the top points. First, stay alert. Being aware can make the difference between capture and escape. Pay attention. Whenever something unusual is happening, be ready to take action. Remember, some scams that are used for robbing people could easily be used to capture them instead. Don't give a hostage taker any reason to act impulsively. Don't aggravate them. Know what someone would find out about you if they went through your wallet or your purse. As soon as you can, try to find out your captor's motivation. And know the 3 C's: calm, connect, and capitalize on your opportunities to facilitate your release. And finally, remember, most hostages survive. Well, we've dealt with the unthinkable, and now it's time to complete our safe passage home. We hope the information we presented will help you travel more confidently and enjoyably. We hope that you share our belief that the key to surviving a horrible situation is completely avoiding one in the first place. We're confident the tools we've shared with you will help prevent the unthinkable, and that you always have a safe passage home.